I know we're gonna be close, but that's the only way I'm gonna get you in there.
No, it's cool. So usually the way it goes is, as much as I try to just tell, this is a conversation between me and you, and people are just so happen to be there, right? And so at any point in time, feel free to use the camera more as like a third person that we're having a conversation with, right? Okay. So that way, the audience is kind of like looped into the throes of the conversation, but ultimately we are in this together, right? Gotcha. Yeah, so just real quick, like, how you feeling, you know?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I mean, it's a lot of excitement going on. It's a big weekend, right? So it's alumni weekend. Okay. So it's my 36th year, I believe. 36th year, graduating in '88 from here at Roanoke College. And also tonight, get inducted to the Hall of Fame, so that's a big year.
Come on.
So a lot of excitement.
Yeah. You know, I'm actually going to just kick it off. It's recorded ours, so because I really want to get to just celebrating you and your accolades. I had a chance to, you know, do a little homework and do a little digging. So I want to first, what's going on, everybody? Yours truly, Hassan Bangurah. Welcome to the Shine Project, where your passion pays you. Today I got with me James Pennix, better affectionately known as JP. JP is a father, a husband, a key person starting a generation of intellects, a hooper, a recruiter, a student advocate, but most importantly, a change agent. JP, when you hear some of these accolades and some of these things that you're responsible for, which one resonates the most with you at this time?
Definitely a father, right? But change agent, I think it's a combination of things. I hear that a lot of times. I don't really think about myself as much because I'm so busy trying to uplift other people. But I always want to be a change agent and just be a mentor for other young black men. So that's always been important to me.
When you think about change agent, what comes to mind? Like if you were to define that so that other people can know the steps to becoming a change agent, what would that look like?
Yeah, I think activism plays into that. When you go into an environment or to a space and things don't, when you can make positive change. So you can be changed and it can be negative, but making that positive change where it makes that situation better, it makes that place better. I think in my career, just knowing whenever I went into a new office, there were certain things, we always say low-hanging fruits you can do, grab and make the place better, but a lot of time it's the way you build a culture within an office. So, and within a family structure, I know, I always think about growing up, youngest of 8, to a single mom and grandmother who raised me, so 2 strong black women. Never had that positive role model around from a male perspective, and that's something I always said, you know, I'm just going to be better. You know, it's going to start here, it's going to start now. And I think that's how you become a good change agent. You know, you don't repeat the cycle. You want to be there for your kids, you want to be there and help them be better than you were.
So let's go a little bit into your story, because I see that we're already going there. So how did we get here today? 36 years of just service and to your community, to all the places that you've been, Virginia Tech, now you're coming to Roanoke College. How do we get here?
I think it's always wanting more or to be better. You know, I always say that competitive nature from playing sports. I was always the littlest one, the smallest one in the family, or playing up in Manellis in junior high school, and I'm like the youngest, and my older brother, we call him Ice, but Robert Pennix would always take me along. So I had to play the point guard, but all the older guys, you know, they'd say, oh, Little Pennix. So I was growing up known as Little Pennix. But then I started seeing that carry over because I was also the one really deeply involved in education. You know, I wanted to go to college. No one in the family from that point had went off to college. So it was something about just the drive in the neighborhood and just not seeing all black men doing well that I would say, I'm gonna be better, you know. So I think the community probably kept me out of drinking and the drugs because they know Little Pennix going home, right? You know, you got the ball going home. So I think it started from the community we grew up in, and then I got better at basketball, but I was also smarter. So coaches started coming recruiting me, and I think that's maybe been the first time, at least in our neighborhood, that it was actually college recruiters coming in and recruiting. So my story, I'll give you a quick version. So I came here to Roanoke College for basketball and computer science. Really knowing Division III, you're not getting into athletic scholarships. You have to do it because you love the sport. So I always say you find that true student athlete here at a school like this. And then it was really being like the only black male who was in the math department here, but it was not many black students on campus, but wanted to be seen as someone, I'm here for the academics, not just for basketball, because you don't want to be with that perception that, oh, they just an athlete. I'm more than an athlete. And I tell young men all the time now, be more than just a number. That number could be you're the athlete or you're the only black or what have you. Just be more. Let them appreciate you for your mind, your intelligence, and move from there. And I think for me, just having that drive, graduating, went into the sales world, came back here in 2001, worked on my master's at Radford University, and then that's how I moved over into enrollment or into admissions work. And that's why I really feel like it, from going to grad school, going through what I was going through in 2000, it was a divorce from my first wife, but really not focusing on the divorce, focusing on how can I help other people in this process understand what I'm going through. So that helped me work with young men. I was a mentor for Family Preservation Services up in Fairfax County, and then I came back here to help coach basketball, and then go off and work on my master's. So from there, I always tell the story, it's another shift. So you get the one shift, I was in sales, back into basketball, going to social work, and then when I graduated in 2001 with my master's, I met my wife, current wife now, and I switched from thinking about athletic, being a coach, to being in enrollment management, into admissions. And I've been in admissions now for 23 years.
Wow.
So,
wow.
And that path for me, being at a school like Roanoke College, I knew that I wanted more. It's always, like I say, you always want to strive for better. What else is next? Just understand the small PWI. I always say I want to work at a public school. So I went to Radford University. I became the AVP there, Associate Vice President. Really, my thing within enrollment and admissions now is this: how can I really help other black communities, other black young men like me, see that education is the way to go? So people who know me in my profession know that I have a passion for helping minority students, rural students. So Amherst County, very rural. So I always say that was one group that people don't really think about when they think about recruitment. That there's a lot of people from small town environments looking for college, and they don't know how to get there. Of course, I think it's a lot better now than when I started 20 years ago, but just going into African American communities and they seeing a black face and explaining the process, helping them understand how to get scholarships, that's a big piece of really just trying to help folks out, and then from Radford to Ferrum to Virginia Tech, and then ultimately come back here as vice president. So it's been a full circle moment, but but focus is, like you said, the focus for me is really about how can I serve people, how can I make changes, and for me it's always at the forefront to understand that it's about helping not only young people but the African American community.
Yeah, you have as I'm listening to your story, I just see such a keen ability to notice things that are missing and fill that gap. I'm curious, before I get to asking that question, if someone is watching this interview and they were in high school and they needed some idea on what they could become, what could they gain from this conversation that we're going to have today?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that young people can gain if they don't have guidance, right? So there's people who, they're in the school system, but they don't go to the guidance office or the counseling's office, is know that there's people like me at just about a lot of schools that's willing to help you out. I always say, when I do get to talk about myself, I say one of the proudest moments I had in enrollment is I've been to more graduations that wasn't at the school I've graduated, that I'm working at.
Wow.
So Zach, I was at his graduation. But I've been to Elon's graduation 3 times.
Wow.
I went to UVA's graduation. I've been to, of course, Tech and Radford graduated when I wasn't working there, because I worked with a student who I always put that in him. I said, I just want to see you walk across stage. So someone outside of their comfort, their normal family circle, their circle is telling them, I believe so much in you that I want to see you walk across stage. And if you invite me, I would most likely going to show up. And I've showed up at a lot of graduation and be saying, I can't believe that, Mr. Pennix, you actually showed up.
Right.
So,
Yo, kids be surprised, like,
Yeah.
oh man. So just really quick, if you could, right? You shared a high. Can you take us to that low moment, right? Because in those low moments is really where people kind of.
That's where the growth happens.
Hey, that's what,
that's where the growth happens.
That's where they see it. So if you could take us to the low moment, what did that look like? Where was it?
I would say I give all the praises, the glory, and honor to the Savior who's called Jesus Christ. And I always say he's my best friend. So you can tell my personality. And when I'm talking to students, I'm like, yeah, I'll introduce you to my best friend, right? So my lowest moment was probably, I would say, during the pandemic, and I was ready to get out of admissions. You know, so I had a friend say, hey, you know you're pretty good at this. There's a lot of people could use your knowledge. So I did some consulting work. I worked with a lot of schools throughout Virginia and North Carolina. At that point in time, the company was called Encora, and I did 9 months there. I fell in love with Elizabeth City State University. I always felt like, you know, I wanted to work for an HBCU. And then the provost there, we just clicked. You know, she had a math background, my math background. Every time we would talk and I was working to consult her school, she's like, you know what, JP? You ought to come work for us. We got an AVP job. You ought to come work for us. And I'm like, I don't know. I went there and worked for 5 months. And I was driving from Roanoke to Elizabeth City State, 5.5 hours. Every Sunday to work Monday through Thursday and drive back home on Thursday night or Friday night during the pandemic, you know, so I feel like I was trying to find myself, and that where my best friend showed up again, right? So the moment I decided I was going to apply and go to Virginia Tech, it was the end of June. Juan Espinoza, who's the VP at Virginia Tech now, good friend, and we had been talking for 3 months just about my experience, and he was looking for a director at the point in time, and I was sending people. I was like, hey, they got a position over at Tech. And then he called me back like right when I was driving back from Elizabeth City State and said, JP, those 2 candidates didn't what we're looking for. We really want you to consider this position.
Wow.
And we would make it a higher position if that's what it's going to take to get you back there.
Wow.
Right? And I said, I don't know, Juan. On their way back, I had 2 flat tires coming on 460. So one right by Hampton Sydney. It was pouring down rain, and I remember like it was yesterday. I didn't take an umbrella out. I didn't take it, and I just changed the tire. When I got to Appomattox, you know where I'm at, it had the 2nd flat tire. So I didn't have an extra tire at that point. So I'm sitting out there like 1 o'clock in the morning waiting for my brother and them from Madison Heights to come get me and get me situated. So the next morning, Juan called me and said, hey, this is the last day. You sure you want? I applied by 12 o'clock that day. I had an interview within 2 days, and I got hired within 3 days later. And I kept on saying, that was God telling me, you know what? I know what you're doing, but the time right now is for you to move and do this next thing I have for you. This is the next adventure.
So, okay, we in the car. It's pouring rain. What you feeling? Like talk me through those.
Yeah. I mean, you know, because for 5 months, you really want to help an institution to understand how they can increase their enrollment. So that's my mind was working in, and you know, sometimes our people don't want to listen. So on the way back this time, I'm thinking like, all right, when I get back Sunday, you know, I got this idea, this going on, and then when the first flat tire happened, I'm like, all right, you know, I had my gospel music on. I'm like, all right, God, I don't know what you're telling me, but I'm gonna get out and get this done. But it's really just where my mind always go is what's next. You know, so what right immediately there is I got to get the tire fixed. The second part would be what's next after this. When I get home, I know I got to cut the grass, do all these things, get ready for 4th of July, all these things for the wife and kids who are in Roanoke. And I'm driving back, and I'm like, all right, it's just a minor stop. I'll still get home by 11. So it's like, and then after the second one, I had plenty of time to sit there and think. And it's like, why? You know, is this the right, should I, you know, you always had that question, should I be doing this job, that I take it for the right reasons? You know, so all those things go through your mind.
There was a moment in your life, I'm sure, where you were able to start, like you made that mental switch to start being like, what's next? What's coming, right? And that's the same like question I had earlier. How did you develop, or what was the moment prior to that allowed you to always see opportunities, allowed you to always see gaps that you can fill?
Yeah. I think it may be instilled just, I did military as well, you know, so every environment I went into, I take it from high school, I was on JV, I moved up to varsity. I get to varsity 2 years, I'm the captain. You know, so in the military, when you go in with 70 guys, they pick 2 people to be the senior people. So it's me and one other guy, you know. So I think people see leadership skills in you and always pushing you forward, that after a while, my mind, it's hard for me sometimes if I'm in an environment and people are not doing things the right way, you know, and I was like, all right, we need to move this, move that. I just, naturally, I'll take control. You know, I've learned as I've gotten older in different positions is to allow people, delegate things to people, but then still there's certain ways I like to see things done, right? And I think for success, you have to have that mentality. If you want to be successful, you can't just say it. You're gonna have to, you know, you have to put some action into place. So it's really planning out what's step 1, step 2, step 3. So I think a lot of times when I've had to make choices, especially when it came to career or even who I'm going to marry, you know, with my wife, it was different how it happened, but it was that choice. Like, yeah, she's the one, you know. So my second wife, it was a matter of 6 months we was married, right? Where even with the first wife, all through college, we dated for like 5 years before we got married. But second, they said, well, you know, that was pretty quick. My brother was telling me, that was pretty quick. I'm like, you know, I know I'm meant to be a father. At that point in time, I definitely want to be a father. When we talked, it wasn't in the club, you know. we talked, and it was like, okay, you know, someone you ain't got to meet in the club, and it was during a basketball camp we met, but some of the conversations we had away from that about life and about, you know, schooling and things like that, we was on the right mind. You know, that mind connection was more important.
Yeah, it seems like y'all were equally yoked and heading in the same direction.
Yes, absolutely. But I will say, like you were saying, it's like, at what point do you see that? And if you made me think even deeper on that, it's just a matter of you want better, right? And I started that way. So in times of, you know, people can make decisions, but it's always when there's what is that Martin Luther King quote? It's not time of comfort and convenience, people are good, but when you're in much conflict, you know, those are the time when true leadership steps up. You know, anybody can lead people that believes everything they believe, but trying to make people change their ways for the betterment of a team, I think that has been through me through athletics, to military, and then just now having kids, raising kids.
It's a different monster. And then real quick, I love to have a brag session, so we get into that. But before we get into that, you know, I know you said Jesus is your best friend, and there's a certain, like, what I'm hearing is like you are really allowing God or Jesus to really push you to where you're gonna go. How do you trust that?
You know, it is. I mean, that's just it. I mean, it took a while. I mean, it's not. I think for when I'm talking to, especially young people on college campuses, a lot of time, because there's so many things that are going against you and your faith. You know, but we was raised. I mean, when I was young, I might not want to go to church all the time, but my mom and grandmother was like, "You getting up? You can stay out till 1 if you want, but you going to church, right?" So, to me, it's always been there. And then when you hit hard times. And you fall back, like I said, going through a divorce, or at the same time that I was going through a divorce, one of my best friends in Northern Virginia, Cal Shaw-Teed, his son Luke was dealing with brain cancer. So all this hit at the same time. And I think that was a point in time when I'm like, you know what, you know, I hear you, God. You know, and I remember Luke, I still have in my office, he gave me a little sculpture of Jesus. And for a young person at 7 years old to talk to you about, you know, do you see Jesus in the room? I'm like, that was real to me, right? And I feel like that was a big changing point in my life. Because granted, you know, I was going through crazy things, but me and his dad was, you know, we was drinking our life away at that point in time. But when that hit, that really was probably the time that really changed me. So I think when people have to really trust that it's going to be okay, there's other people going through a lot worse than what you could be going through. And you have to, when you see, you know, I don't want to put it to that, but when you see death and you talk to people right before they die, you know, that's real. You know Jesus is real, right? Because they're giving you so much faith and uplift, and you're like, but you know, I can't frown when I'm dealing with someone like that, because I still remember how Luke looked at me and knew that I would have to be that best friend for his father, you know, and he's like, James, I want you to have this, you know, and he's, you know, cancer all of his body, but, you know, that night, was really powerful. So it wasn't Luke talking.
Yeah.
To me, that was that moment.
That was
right?
that moment
So,
talking to you.
yeah.
Man, listen, let's give some glory to God real quick, man.
That's right.
Let's
That's
give
right.
some glory. What's just if you could, man, as much as you can, this what are the things that you are just the most proud of? Just keep going. Just name them. Just all the
Yeah,
things
you know,
that's-
I mean, I am proud to be a black man with
Let's-
3 black sons
on,
who
keep
going to
going.
have degrees.
Come on.
I'm proud to say I'm able to put food on my family's table,
Come
have a
on.
house.
Yeah.
That it's something that growing up being the youngest, and we moved from a trailer to a house later in my life. To have your own house and buy it, that to me is just power. I have to give that to
Come
give
on,
that to
keep
God.
going. Keep going.
To able to maneuver through this profession. I mean, I went to a PWI. I worked at several PWI. You don't see many faces like me in the room. I don't know if you saw coming out downstairs. That's our biggest board.
Yeah.
So that's our board that controls the whole of school. And we've been in meetings for 2 weeks. And when you look in that room, it's 3 of us, right? And to step in the room and feel confident when I'm making my presentation, to let them know I got my part. I understand my end, and people believe and trust that. And a lot of times, I think when you're in these type environment and you're the only black male, to me, it's just as powerful that I got all the white students believe in me as well, right? So I feel great when I always tell people, I was like, yes, I am here to improve diversity numbers and to really help any. If I got a mentor or group, I'd rather be a black group on campus. I'm just honest about that.
Right.
But I still go and mentor the other groups too.
Yeah,
but they're gonna have to do a little more convincing.
Yeah.
Where if a young black person come up to me now and say, hey, we got this new group we started, we need a staff advisor, can you do it? I'm like, all right, let me figure out how I'm gonna work it in.
Yeah.
Everyone else, I'm like, no, my plate is full.
You're
right. So I think that to me, that's just glory to God, because they're able to see that they got someone on campus they can trust. Right. And you need that. I mean, I love the idea that one of my sons goes to Virginia Tech, the other one go to VCU, and there's people on campus that they don't know. I can call other people on campus and it's like, hey, you seen Jamie? And they're like, all right, I'm going over and check on them, right? But they don't know that, right? But that's the person I want to be. If I have someone who need for me to go check on the kid, I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, so people have gotten a chance to see your story. They seen the trials, they seen the tribulations. Today is a really special day. You're getting honored, and so if you could just talk, as much as you can about the impact that basketball has had on your life, and just how that's carried you to this moment. And
it's open doors. I would say it opened doors. What we say, or what I say in recruiting to Division III student athletes, is that you get to play the game that you love, but in the end, at the Division III level, the idea is to come away with a degree and get into a career path. And a lot of times for me, it was just talking to other people. I remember Kenny Belton, who was before me, and when I graduated, he was trying to help me get a job in Northern Virginia. So it's always someone like that knew me because of basketball. And then they see my credentials, they're like, oh yeah, JP, right? So Coach Green, who recruited me here, this is part of my story I tell tonight. I say 40. So I have a 40-year relationship with Roanoke College. Wow. I came here in 1984, and to be back here as the vice president for enrollment management, and I would think back then people's perception is that he's a great basketball player, but I don't know, right?
right.
I should have told you this story, but I don't want to put a negative on Roanoke. I said only kind of hard feelings I had with Roanoke years ago. Sophomore year, me and my roommate Adam Pryor, a white roommate, the coach knew we was great recruiters. Anytime they bring a player in, they stay with me and Adam, and they're gonna come. So he had told the people at the missions that they need to hire me and Adam as tour guides.
Right.
So we go over there and interview, and we talking, and granted, I'm confident.
Right.
Back then I might have been cocky, but I'm confident, and I'm the only one that didn't get hired.
Wow.
And then you look in the rest of the office, there's no more people like us there. There's nobody there.
Right.
So I call a spade, and
Yeah.
I told a few people about it too. I was like, so I go from being the person you never hired for 2 straight years to be a tour guide to now I run the whole show.
Wow.
Right. And so for when I went to Radford and other places, I always say my staff was the most diverse they ever seen. Because I didn't eliminate someone because of their color. I encouraged it, So all my hiring committees before they final, I remember one time at Radford, we had 3 white folks in the office and we had 8 black people in the office. And they come on saying, "What did you do?" Because I was telling people, "Hey, if you want a job, you need to come. You need to come holler at me." But I appreciate those moments now, right? Because that's the change. If we, if you can't make policy changes to help people out, you got to make changes from the space that you're at or from the position you're at, right? And some people are afraid to do that. And I said it in this board meeting today. I'm not afraid to make those decisions. It's like, if you don't want me to make them, you need to tell me now.
Listen,
right?
But just real quick, it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. Like, man, when you in a position, you got white people all around you, or not even like that, but you have people around you who may not support your idea. It is hard and it is scary, and like you feel like you suffocating. How? Like,
I say you have to be who you are. We just had the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee meeting right after lunch, and there was an hour and a half meeting. And you're right, you got faculty members in there, you got people running, and they always talk about, we want to increase more people of color to be faculty members. And it's great this year, we added 3 more. And I'm like, so we start counting numbers now. So I just raise my hand, I say, it really comes down to who's making the decisions. Because you can say, this person don't have the right credentials, then that's where you start. I'm going for the best of the best, but I'm gonna have to pay them. And then, so if I bring you 3 people in who has just as good as credentials for me, but they're willing to accept the second position, we need to jump on that person. Right? So that's the part I say, the people who make the financial decisions really control it. Because I've heard it too many times in these spaces at higher ed where we couldn't afford a salary. Because quiet as it kept, once you get your 2 or 3 degrees, you can work anywhere you want in colleges, right? Because you have the credentials, and everybody needs, especially young black men. That's why every time I get in front of black men, I'm like, dude, just keep getting a degree, and get your next degree, and you'll be amazed. And then even if you don't want to stay in the college environment, I'm here to tell you, you can move up in the college environment really fast in the right area, right? And then you just keep pushing, right? Some people just don't want to work, and they don't want to start off small. But I'm like for admissions counsel for us, they may start off, make $50,000, what have you. But at the same time, you can work on your master's for free when you're there. So that's $50,000 plus how much that costs. And I always tell them, I say, just give it 3 years. After you get your degree, then start doing what you really want to do. A lot of them stay in higher ed, then they realize, you know what? Outside admissions, other areas, they don't really work but 8 months out of the year. You got 4 months to do all you want, and you still getting $70,000, $80,000. Right? So it's a matter of focus. It's a matter of focus and motivation. What motivates you? Right? I always say now, as I see towards the end of their career, I make choices now where I really don't want to do anything out. I don't want to do all the other works like that got me there. I think I'm at a level now that with policies and things have changed, I want to continue to be that board saying we've done the right thing to help give people equal opportunities and access. Let's not let Supreme Court decision kill that. Although it's legal, there's still people who's doing the same thing they did before. So it requires people in my position to say, yes, we're still going to offer those scholarships. We're going to word it a different way. But when I look through it, guess what I'm looking for? I'm still looking for another black male with the right credentials. You give me another one like him with 4.0 GPA.
Oh man, yo, it has been a treat to just speak with you and gain your story. Listen, what is on your heart that you want to just leave with our audience as we wrap up?
Oh man, I just appreciate the opportunity just to have the conversation. Right? When Zach called me and was talking about shine, I'm like, I think in that two minutes, I'm analyzing, oh man, I was like, that sounds like me. He said, that's why I'm calling you, cuz. And I'm like, but it is. I wish you guys all the best on this. I mean, the people that I think about when I think about in different places and how they continue to stay humble. I mean, to me, that's about being true to who you are. Don't let the money or the position make your head big. Your work is still, it's another black person walking through my door that need to see me the right way, right? And they need to be comfortable. So I'm always going to be humble in that sense. And like I say, I give that glory to God and to 2 strong black women who raised me, right? So I can't disappoint them.
For sure.
I appreciate it.
Oh man, well listen, thank y'all so much for tuning in to the Shine Project. It has truly been an honor to capture your story. I hope that you see yourself within the pockets of Mr. J.P. Pennix. Once again, thank you for tuning in to The Passion That Pays You, and I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day. Peace. Hey man, that was dope. How did it feel?
Good, man. You got me all hyped up.
That's the
I
goal.
still gotta give that speech this evening.
Hey,
I might
hey.
stop throwing that in.
Hey,
Change it.
that's what it is. That's what it is, man.
Yes, bro. Tell you, I can't wait to hear this spoken word, man. I've been
Oh,
telling
yeah.
people about you forever.
Hey man, I wish
I gotta get you here.